Hello YouTube, Saint Bob here of Saint Bob's YouTube channel. This is going to be the first video of many videos, and this video is going to be a tutorial on the Torchlight editor. This tutorial is going to include a basic understanding of the editor, explaining the certain features and certain different menus within the editor, and also it's going to include the making of a first room and hopefully expanding that into something a little bit larger, and then also we'll have a play around with a couple of particle or animations, spell effects a little bit later on as well. So let's get right into it and let's boot up the Torchlight editor. Now, before we do start looking at the editor, just explain that I downloaded my Torchlight on Steam, and therefore the editor itself was in the Tools section of the Steam library, and you can download that if you are indeed a Steam user. If you're not, and you have downloaded it from other sources, then you may need to look at the original source to get the editor if you're not sure of where to get it. A quick Google search works wonders. Okay, so as you can see, we have the Torchlight editor up now, and we can see the main interface. We've got the actual grid, and our basically this is where we start to do all the work. The big black section in the middle. On either side we have two columns, which I will explain as we do move on. And at the top we have obviously the options that you would normally find in an editor. So I'll quickly go through what the options are at the top, and also each individual buttons at the top as well. Okay, so at the top we've got View. Now, View basically enables you to actually view anything that it says in the View option. Properties, for example, is the right hand column that you see here. Now this is the properties box, which I will go into in depth a bit later on. File Explorer again is just basically like Windows Explorer, but dedicated for the Torchlight editor and Torchlight game. So that includes obviously game files, editor files, data files, those kind of things. The palette is the bread and butter of the editor. The palette actually enables you to place objects, place anything that you would see that is a physical, tangible item that your character can walk on, interact with, all goes basically from the palette. The chunk palette I've not really explored in depth, so I don't really want to comment on that, as I don't want to make a fool of myself and get it wrong. And obviously check for updates is self-explanatory. Options, these are different options for the editor. These will I'm not going to go into detail of what each individual ones are, because we'll be here all day. But for example, Show FPS just gives you a quick lowdown of the editor. Frames per second, loads of just for basically all the techie geeks out there. This is just the data for that. But I'll not go into detail of anything else, because most of it is self-explanatory anyway, and for the purpose of this tutorial we don't really have any interaction with the options drop-down menu. Data editors, again, I'm not going to be using this drop-down menu at all for this tutorial, but just for reference, these are the data files for making and editing quests, item sets, different you can create cinematics, basically everything that is run in the background of the game that you don't actually have any interaction with other than the quests and things is actually done here. Mods itself is the mod editor. Now, if you're familiar with other editors like StarCraft, Warcraft editors, then a mod is what that community call a map, basically. And this is going to be the mod editor, so you can choose basically which mod you have active at the time. Now you can see I do have other mods there which are done. I haven't done them myself, there from the actual modding community, but for the purpose of this one, the mod I've got selected is Test 001. That's what we've called it, just so we can show the features and obviously do a tutorial on. This is where you basically choose your mod. You can create a new one, and when you create a new one it will automatically create a new mod or map. Enable and disable in-game mods. This is just enabling or disabling the mods that you currently have active or downloaded in the game itself already. Open mods folder and open base folder. These are just open the directory folders of where the mods are located, and also where the base files, which is the actual data files for the editor and for the game as well. So we don't really need to go into that, but that's what they are. Okay, now for the options along the top line here. Very quickly, switch to game mode. That allows you to, when you click that, allows you to actually go into game mode while still in the editor, and you can have a look at what it is you've created, get a feel for it, and see if there's anything that you need to change. These four here, these I will explain later, so we are just going to ignore these just for now, but we will be using these later, so I'm not going to skip them. And also the snap angles and the X, Z and Y axes will leave till later as well, because we will be using that quite extensively. And this one, toggle in-game lighting. This is just toggle what the lighting is set for in-game on and off in the editor. The rest is just basically the camera settings. For example, the camera speed just shows how fast or how slow the camera moves in the editor for when you're doing your work. Okay, so moving on to the columns on the sides. The layout is basically where everything that you put into the game actually goes into the layout folder. So for example, if you put in a wall, then that will automatically create an icon and a wall name, and that is where you can select individual files without actually selecting them within the black mesh area. And at the bottom here you can see the particles and mesh creators. These are obviously tabbed out at the moment. You can click on them. The particle creator, as it's named, is a particle creator. This is where you create any particles, any animations, for example the spell effects on weapons, even things such as the lights for torches and chandeliers, things like that. So that's where that is created. Now for mesh, I've not even explored mesh viewer, but I'm going to give it a stab and say that from what I can tell from right clicking here without going into anything, I believe it's something that you can actually look at models and textures and maybe alter them, but I'm not 100% on that. But as my videos do increase, I will be exploring the mesh creator and other features that aren't included in this tutorial, and we'll be going over them in depth at a later date. So let's just go back to layout. There we go. Okay, so properties here. This is properties of any item that you've installed. So if you put in a wall, you click on the wall, and then the properties of that wall will be displayed in here. And that's for any item at all. So if you click on an item, the properties of that item will show in here, and you can edit the properties in any way you see fit. Options itself, these are options for the editor and for the game. So basically these are for when you are in game and you are testing it, so using the switch to game mode, then the game will automatically create a level 1 character, an alchemist, the dungeon is level 1, the dungeon rules are cave, and god mode is turned off. You can turn that on if you want, but it's there anyway. I'll not go through them all because they're all pretty much self-explanatory, and the editor does come with a nice explanation at the bottom, which is quite nice. Now this is an interesting feature that I don't see very often in quite a few editors. It enables you to change the background colour of the editor. So as you can imagine, a lot of the props and a lot of the physical items that you put in the game are quite dark, and having a dark background isn't great when you're editing, because sometimes you can't see or it's hard to click on. So you are able to change the colours to anything you want to make it easiest to see the items. And it just makes it a little bit easier for yourself, really. Okay, File Explorer, as I explained earlier, the File Explorer is just exploring the files that are related to the editor in the game. Okay, we're going to take a quick break now I've explored these areas. I will be continuing, and we'll start to create our first room and start putting some props in. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you on the other side.